On World News Tonight, Pope John Paul, the leader of more than 1 billion Catholics, is very close to death. The Vatican says there is no further hope for recovery. Millions of people in many parts of the world are simply waiting and praying. The Saudi Arabian prince charged with helping to smuggle 2 tons of cocaine. Is the Saudi government protecting him? And it's Friday, so we'll have our Person of the Week, trying to change a child's life with a photograph.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. Like broadcasters all over the world, we have been sitting right here for many hours now, believing that at any moment we would learn the Pope had died. And everyone to whom we've listened in the last several hours has said in one way or another that the time had come. There was no hope for recovery now. In Rome, which surrounds Vatican City, the word went out that the end was nigh. And now, as you can see, many thousands of people are there in St. Peter's Square to pray for a peaceful end for this extraordinary man who has made such a mark on the 20th century. John Paul's influence, as we all know, extends far beyond the 1 billion Roman Catholics in the world. And as people in St. Peter's Square and elsewhere wait for the inevitable tonight, from Poland to the Philippines for that matter, in every corner of the globe, millions of people know that incredible times are coming to an end. We have several reports. We're going to go first to ABC's David Wright, who is in Vatican City.
Peter, it was an extraordinary day here in Rome, as if the entire city were holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable.
Santa Madre di Dio, prega per noi.
They came to pray.
Ave o Maria, piena di grazia.
Cristo.
They came to say their goodbyes.
Cristo pietà.
Most of all, they just wanted to be here. This evening, or this night, said the Vatican's Vicar General, Christ opens the door to the Pope.
Santa Maria.
Tonight, all these people came to send him on his way. At St. John Lateran Basilica tonight, the Vicar of Rome said Mass. When the Pope dies, he will make the official announcement.
Già vede e già tocca il Signore.
He is already seeing and touching the Lord, said Cardinal Camillo Ruini. He is already united with our Savior. Vatican officials say the Pope's health is notably compromised, with shortness of breath, heart and kidney failure, the latest in a long list of problems. The papal spokesman described the Pope's condition as very grave. As he said so, he fought back tears. Tonight, the only sign of life, a light in the papal apartments. Officials say John Paul is still at work. Today, he appointed 12 new bishops and archbishops. He said Mass, met with top cardinals of the Church, and said the Stations of the Cross.
I think he's trying to show people that even if we consider this time of life kind of coming to an end and being over, there is still a continuity. There's a continuity with everything he has done before.
When I see a Christian face death with courage, it gives me courage. And very few people have faced death as the Pope has, with such command and serenity and faith.
Polish television, which has very good sources inside this papacy, is reporting that just a few hours ago, John Paul blessed a golden crown, and that tomorrow morning that crown will be placed in front of the most important Polish icon at the Vatican, the Black Madonna kept in the crypt of St. Peter's. In Poland, this is being seen as a farewell gesture from the first non-Italian pope in nearly 500 years. Peter?
Thank you, David. Many Americans, of course, have been to St. Peter's Square. It can be an electrifying place under any circumstances. ABC's George Stephanopoulos has spent the day in St. Peter's today. George, I was thinking that I was there the night that he was selected. It must be very moving for you tonight.
It was, Peter. So many people came to the square today to say goodbye, and it built up during the day. And, you know, earlier today was a magnificent day here in Rome, and people gathered in that square. It was like an outdoor chapel. And everyone who came in, whether they were fingering their rosaries or kneeling on the cobblestones or even holding impromptu masses, all had their eyes fixed on that papal apartment, on those windows where the Pope is staying. And what hit home most for me, Peter, earlier in the day I spoke with a young woman who goes to Christendom College in Northern Virginia, and I asked, what are you praying for exactly? And she said, a good death. And so many people came here today, and by coming here and praying for the Pope, they were trying to give him that gift, a good death.
Many thanks, George. You see those two lighted windows up there in the papal chambers. The one light you don't see is on the very right of the building there at the northern end of St. Peter's Square, and that exactly is his bedroom, and his bedroom has not had a light on as we have looked over the last several hours. Our medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson, has been here with us for much of the day. Nobody wishes to hasten the Pope's death, Tim, but very struck by the Vatican announcement many, many hours ago that all of the physical signs said this was the time.
Over 6 hours ago, in the last written communication we have had from the Vatican, they describe a general worsening of the cardiorespiratory system and specific problems with shallow breathing, with kidney insufficiency, and with low blood pressure. Medically speaking, that is a description of a dying man, and it certainly would appear that the Pope has finally entered the terminal phase of his illness.
We've actually talked a couple of times today about what an extraordinarily strong man he's been, 84 years old, and he has not gone willingly.
He is a fighter, but he is facing his final battle.
Yeah, many thanks, Tim. Dr. Tim Johnson, our medical editor. He was an electrifying figure for Americans, whether you were Catholic or not. People know that. He made 7 trips to this country as the Pope. He actually went to Alaska twice. He was, of course, controversial here. Some American Catholics have chafed at his insistence that they follow the Church's traditional social doctrines. But every time the Gallup organization asked Americans who are those people they admire most, John Paul always made the top 10 list. And that admiration and affection was very clear today in many corners of America. Here's ABC's Dean Reynolds.
Though the end has been coming for weeks, American Catholics today are being forced to consider life without John Paul II. In New York,
I think there's a concern with where our church may go. It may change direction.
In Washington,
whoever comes next has some huge shoes to fill.
In Atlanta,
John Paul II is the only Pope I've ever known. And so it will really be ushering in a new age.
Today, the faithful lighted their candles, said their prayers a bit more fervently, perhaps, and they waited.
It's really a beautiful thing to be able to watch him just accept what the Lord has prepared for him. It's a lesson to us.
A lesson they were teaching at a Catholic school near Green Bay this morning about death and dignity.
And how many of you have been paying attention to that? And how many of you have been discussing it with your families? The main thing that I think that the kids can learn from this is the way that he's dying.
In Boston, their affection and admiration were indisputable.
He inspired me, basically. And I found him to be a humble man, genuine man.
Here in Chicago, where there are more Poles than in any city outside Warsaw, the papacy of John Paul II is a point of tremendous pride.
When he was chosen to be a pope, I wasn't even born yet. So it's like my whole life I was brought up as he was the Polish pope.
John Paul's likeness adorns the walls of St. Hyacinth Basilica in this heavily Polish Chicago neighborhood, where they talk of the Pope's 1979 visit to the city as if it were yesterday. And yet the sea of vacant pews, even on this day and in this Polish church, points up a problem for Catholics in this country.
There are a lot of achievements of the pontificate of John Paul II, but there are a lot of problems that are left for his successor.
Abortion, birth control, women priests, the list of contested issues is long, not to mention the priest sex abuse scandal, and it's all driven a wedge between the Vatican and America, regardless of the Pope's standing in the world.
For the vast majority of Catholics and for the vast majority of other people, the Pope was just an icon, a celebrity, a figure that they could applaud, and then they could go home and do what they wanted.
And now, Peter, they are holding their 4th Mass of the day here at St. Hyacinth Basilica, where, frankly, they are no longer praying for the Pope's recovery, but just that he have a painless and a peaceful death.
Many thanks, Dean. One smiles and one thinks about the deep attachment that Polish Americans have to the Pope, but nobody in the entire world has ever had an attachment to this man like the people of Poland. And ABC's Jim Sciutto is there tonight.
Millions of Poles joined in a common prayer today in the capital, Warsaw, in Krakow, where John Paul II once served as Archbishop, and in the nearby village of Wodowice, where he was born. I remember him as a child, this woman said. Maybe God will help him again. We can only hope. Across the country, schools closed so children could pray. Many adults took at least a few minutes from work to join them. For us Poles, the Holy Father is like someone in our own family. Poland is overwhelmingly Catholic, but John Paul II is a giant here regardless of religion. Today, the Polish president recalled the Pope's pledge early in his papacy to change the face of Poland and thanked him for fulfilling that promise. He is the greatest Pole in our history, this man said. Each time the Pope has come home during his papacy, millions came to see him. Today, people told us how much they owe the man they know as Karol Wojtyła for his moral and political leadership.
You can say that he grew with us and we with him. So in every important moment of his life, or our life, of the city as a Poland, we were together.
Today, even on the clearest of spring days, one priest said that without John Paul II, we will have lost our sunlight. Jim Sciutto, ABC News, Krakow.
Here's another way to think of his impact. 50% of the world never knew another pope. He served that long. And he was a rock star as well as a religious leader. Our coverage will continue later this evening. We will, on this broadcast, be back with other news in just a moment, including the news today that a Saudi prince who is a fugitive from American justice is the subject of an ABC News investigation into why he has not been extradited. Also tonight, our person of the week, using photography to help a child find a better life.
Not one of these allergy medicines can give you long-lasting seasonal allergy relief without the risk of drowsiness. But Allegro 180 can. For people 12 and over, side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or backache. Choose long-lasting prescription Allegra.
Share the love. Pass the Splenda. Spread the sweetness.
Splenda's the no-calorie sweetener made from sugar, so it tastes like sugar. Almost anywhere you use sugar, you can use Splenda. You can even cook and bake with it. So don't be surprised when a neighbor pops by to borrow a cup of Splenda.
Heart attacks aren't always fatal. To help save lives during a heart attack, most doctors recommend the full dose of aspirin like that in Genuine Bear. Just one Genuine Bear has enough aspirin to help save your life. The more you know, the more you trust Bear.
What's as gentle as Senecot laxatives? With the purified natural Sena ingredient, Senecot tablets offer overnight relief from occasional constipation, gently. Senecot works gently, works overnight.
Playing the guitar is like having a conversation.
Me and B.B. King have a lot in common.
I love to play.
He has diabetes, I have diabetes.
You got a girlfriend?
We both play the blues. He doesn't like to wait for results. I don't like to wait.
All done within 5 seconds. You just can't beat that.
Results in just 5 seconds. Ask for One Touch Ultra. One touch changes everything.
Not one of these allergy medicines can give you long-lasting seasonal allergy relief without the risk of drowsiness. But Allegro 180 can. For people 12 and over, side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or backache. Choose long-lasting prescription Allegra.
Much of the other news in the world today pales, of course, in comparison to what has been happening to the Pope, but there is other news. A federal jury in Miami has been hearing testimony this week about an unusual scheme to smuggle cocaine. It allegedly involves a prince from Saudi Arabia. 2 defendants are now on trial. The prince was indicted by a federal grand jury, but he has not appeared. His powerful family and the Saudi government are accused by American authorities of shielding him from prosecution. Here's ABC's Brian Ross.
Under the rules of diplomatic immunity, customs inspectors at Le Bourget Airport outside Paris were kept away when this private 727 arrived from Riyadh. On board the jet, according to U.S. and French investigators, was a Saudi royal prince and 2 tons of pure cocaine he was smuggling from South America.
He's a key co-conspirator. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He made it happen. No plane, no dope.
The prince's alleged co-conspirators are on trial this week in Miami, where the plot allegedly began. But the prince himself, Nayef bin Fawaz al-Shalan, remains safely in Saudi Arabia, a royal fugitive, under indictment in the U.S. and France, but protected by his powerful family, according to U.S. drug agents.
A warrant does exist for the prince, an international arrest warrant.
Neither the U.S. nor France has an extradition treaty with Saudi Arabia, which has no official comment on the prince's case. U.S. agents say the Saudi government has done little to cooperate.
I think that we got what we could get out of the Saudi Arabian government at this time.
Did you get enough?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Police in France say the Saudi Interior Minister, Prince Nayef, even threatened to cancel a $6 billion contract with a French company over the case, as detailed in this diplomatic cable from the French ambassador in Riyadh.
The Saudi government acted as one to set up a protective barrier between the prince and French justice.
The prince, on the left in this photo, with his alleged Colombian connections, has declared his innocence to a Saudi newspaper. Authorities say the value of the smuggled cocaine was $36 million, and that some of the drug money moved through a Swiss bank the prince owned, which is now closed and also under investigation. Brian Ross, ABC News, New York.
ABC News investigation will have more news in just a moment.
Cholesterol. It comes buttered, battered, basted, and roasted. But it also comes from Mom, Dad, Grandma Rose, and Grandpa Joe. Your cholesterol doesn't just come from food. It also has a lot to do with family history. Ask your doctor about Vytorin. A healthy diet is important, but when it's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Vytorin treats the 2 sources of cholesterol, food and what your body makes naturally based on family history. Vytorin lowers bad cholesterol 45 to 60%. Vytorin is not for everyone, including people with liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Unexplained muscle pain or weakness could be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Vytorin may interact with other medicines or certain foods, increasing your risk of getting this serious side effect. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. Continue to follow a healthy diet and ask your doctor about adding Vytorin. For the 2 sources of cholesterol, remember the name Vytorin. That's Vytorin.
With all the recent news on prescription pain relievers, you may be asking what's right for you. Talk to your doctor and ask about Advil. The fact is, no other over-the-counter pain reliever has been proven stronger or to last longer on tough pain than Advil. Not Tylenol, not Aleve. Advil has been trusted by millions for over 20 years. Ask your doctor if the strong, trusted pain relief of Advil is right for your kind of pain.
Hello, my darling. Your last blossom beckons. I am so congested. If only my medicine could treat and help prevent these seasonal nasal allergy symptoms.
Only Nasonex is clinically proven to both treat and help prevent most seasonal nasal allergy symptoms, including congestion. Only Nasonex. Side effects were generally mild and included headache, viral infection, sore throat, nosebleeds, and coughing.
I have returned my flower, a changed bee.
To treat and help prevent most seasonal nasal allergy symptoms, Nasonex is the one. Talk to your doctor.
As the world prays for Pope John Paul II, stay with ABC News. Tonight, Nightline with the latest breaking details. And all next week, as the world's eyes are on the Vatican, turn to Peter Jennings and World News Tonight for special reports from Rome and all across the globe.
A little more quickly through some of the other news today. The government said the economy added 110,000 new jobs in March. That was just half the numbers predicted and the smallest number since July. But economists did see other signs in the reports of an improving jobs climate, including the fact that the rate of employment fell from 5.4% in February to 5.2% last month. President Clinton's former National Security Advisor, Sandy Berger, pleaded guilty today to intentionally removing classified documents from the National Archives. Mr. Berger had previously said he took the documents by mistake under a plea bargain. He will not serve any time in prison. He will be fined $10,000, and he will surrender the security clearance that gave him access to the documents in the first place. Overseas in Zimbabwe tonight, President Robert Mugabe's party appears to have won the parliamentary elections. International observers and already some foreign leaders are very upset and quick to say so. The U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice said she applauds voters for their determination, but said the election was not free and not fair. President Mugabe is the only remaining African leader who has ruled his country since independence from colonial power. And we learned today that Frank Perdue, the chicken king, has died. Takes a tough man to make a tender chicken, he always said. Mr. Perdue started in his father's egg business in Maryland and used television, among other things, to build it into one of the nation's largest poultry companies. And he was 84 years old. When we come back this evening, our person of the week. More than one, in fact, looking to give a child a better life and using a camera.
World News Tonight with Peter Jennings and Person of the Week. Brought to you by Walmart.
You buy ginger ale at Walmart's everyday low prices. It arrived on a Walmart truck and traveled over 140 miles from a Walmart distribution center, where it was processed by over 1,000 Walmart associates and moved over 10 miles of conveyor, with over 230,000 cases that same day. Why send ginger ale through one of the most efficient distribution systems ever conceived? To keep prices low for you, that we're all proud to be a part of.
This allergy season, ask your doctor about something different. Singulair. While many seasonal allergy medicines block histamine, Singulair works differently by blocking leukotrienes, an underlying cause of seasonal allergy symptoms. And one prescription Singulair helps relieve a broad range of seasonal allergy symptoms for a full 24 hours. Side effects are generally mild and vary by age, and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Singulair, a different way to treat seasonal allergies.
To keep things fresh in the freezer, use new Glad Press and Seal Freezer Wrap. It seals air out, so freshness stays in, because it's the only wrap that seals when you press it, to get more air out than freezer bags. New Glad Press and Seal Freezer Wrap. For freshness in the freezer, get Glad.
Nearly every minute, a woman dies from a heart attack or a stroke. If your doctor says you're at risk, Bayer Women's Plus Calcium can significantly reduce your risk. Be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen. The more you know, the more you trust Bayer.
Introducing Roundup Extended Control. It kills tough weeds fast, and now it also prevents. Just spray wherever you don't want weeds, and you won't get weeds for up to 1, 2, 3 full months. New Roundup Extended Control. Weeds have met their match.
We asked people why they use Colace capsules.
My doctor recommended it.
My doctor told me.
My son told me.
Your son?
Yes, my son, the doctor.
Stimulant-free Colace capsules, the #1 stool softener brand recommended by doctors.
Over 21 million watched the premiere. Yes! Grey's Anatomy gets 4 stars. You'll love the show.
I'm not going out with you.
It has heart and brains. A winner that's entertaining and addictive. An all-new Grey's Anatomy, Sunday 10/9 Central, only on ABC.
Finally this evening, our person of the week. It is some years now since we started out with an individual and ended up with a crowd. And not just any crowd, as you will see, but a group of people who were so energized by what they were doing, it was beautiful to watch. It started off with a photojournalist, Najla Fiani.
As photographers, we think in terms of not words, but in terms of pictures. So when I visualize something, I see it in either black and white or color. I see light and darkness. I see shadows and shapes, and that's how we really think. I don't know if Janet's given Jeffrey...
This week, Najla had organized a very interesting photo shoot. Norman Luno, also a photographer, was there.
Okay, there you go. One more.
And Sarah Schatz, and more than a dozen other professionals who had given their time to photograph for a project called the Heart Gallery. These photographers and hundreds of others across the country are photographing orphans.
It was like a no-brainer, you know.
It was a really good opportunity for photography to play a direct role in influencing these kids' lives.
That is precisely the idea. They are spreading the word in a different way that 130,000 children in the United States are available, up for, would love to be adopted. And at the Heart Gallery, in any one of 50 American cities, there are connections to be made.
My mom passed away in November, so I thought, you know, what must it be like to not have parents?
There's going to be this picture on the wall, and a family's going to walk by, and it's going to be something that speaks to them that's going to make them walk by again and really look and see the inner beauty of this child. I think that so many people think that these foster children are beyond help.
I'm telling you, we're going to make a star out of you, you know?
They have this face, you know, like the game face. So what we're trying to do is I try to work through them long enough and tease them and cajole them enough so that finally the game face sort of, starts, you know, you see the real face come through. And when you see the real face come through, it's like you're hitting gold.
Danielle is 10. She has been waiting for several years.
Woo! Awesome. One that looked like I'm a happy, cheerful child that wants to be a doctor.
And if you see it coming near my head, let me know, okay? All right.
We know that adoption is a very serious business. Some of these children have been neglected, abused, moved from foster home to foster home. It is the child below the surface that these photographers hope they can reach and show others. Jim Salzano photographed 5-year-old Sammy, who is mentally disabled and has been waiting 2.5 years for a family to fall in love with him.
I think it's tough, you know. I wanted him to look like who he is and not oversell him, but at the same time get some kind of emotion from him, which was, I think, the hardest thing.
There is a growing number of Heart Galleries. One opened in Boston last week. The original one, the inspiration really, was in New Mexico. Tulsa has one, Connecticut, Tampa, Florida. And everywhere there is a gallery, someone has seen, and in some cases heard, a child and begun adoption proceedings.
I feel like it's probably the most important story that I've ever worked on in my entire career. I've been all over the world, and I've covered feast and famine and you know, politics and whatever, but to me and to many of our colleagues, we're really talking about this could be the most important story that we ever cover in our careers.
And so we choose the Heart Gallery photographers, and the children, of course, who are putting themselves out there every day. Several photographers have become so attached to the children that they have asked to adopt them. And there's a lot more information about this at abcnews.com. One last glimpse for now at St. Peter's Square in Rome, where many people still await what most people now believe is the inevitable news about the Pope. It's well after midnight there. Rain has been threatening throughout the day, but it has not deterred many people from staying and praying for this extraordinary man, now 84 years old, longest-serving Pope in this century, who has had such an impact on the rest of the world. Stay with ABC News. I hope for continuing coverage about the Pope. I'm Peter Jennings. See you again.
Stay with ABC News for the latest on Pope John Paul II. And tonight, 2020 presents an emotional story, a medical mystery. Young women born with a hunger for food that never, ever stops. Their parents are even forced to padlock the refrigerator. Tonight, don't miss 2020.
All new. American Idol Simon Cowell reveals the inside scoop. And it's your turn to judge Simon next Oprah. Monday at 3 on ABC 7.
Oh, boy, popcorn fish. It's our favorite.
Who are you?
Oh, we just live a couple blocks away.
Do you know them?
You can't blame them for trying, especially with Gordon's delicious popcorn fish. Bite-sized pieces of fish with our special blend of herbs and spices. And a crunch kids will find downright irresistible. Whether they're your kids or not. Gordon's popcorn fish.
Trust the Gordon's fisherman.
What's new? The new 255 horsepower Accord Hybrid. Not to mention, the Accord made it to Car and Driver's 10 Best Cars list for the 19th time. Then again, we've always been popular with those in